Coming at you nearly live and direct from the Stephen King state of eternal weirdness and frostbite, we proudly bring to you the mystical duo of all things bizarre and macabre, as they will serve as your guides on a magical mystery tour de la Jolla of creepiness. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we have a stupendular show for you today.
Stupendular. Okay.
Look it up.
Okay.
It'll soon be in there.
In the John Dictionary?
In the John Dictionary. It's a special place all of its own.
Okay.
I am very excited to share some things with everyone.
Yes.
We had a great trip.
We did.
And,
Long trip.
It was a very long trip.
Yes. Long drive.
Well, when I say great trip, that's kind of stretching it a little bit because it wasn't really great, was it?
It wasn't the worst thing I've ever done.
No, not the worst thing you've ever done, but not exactly the best thing.
Exactly. It's kind of in the middle there.
Yeah, we had some unforeseen difficulties during the trip. As far as trips go, though, the trip down and the trip up were both...
Well, that went smoothly.
That went
the
pretty
driving
smooth.
And we missed the weather.
Right, the 3-day migraine, not so cool. That wasn't so good. Anybody who deals with migraines out there, I feel for you because up until, I believe it's bad when a Facebook memory...
Right.
Remind you of your first one. But it was around 2011 I got my first migraine.
Right.
And it was like, I've always joked people about these. And, now it's there. And now I have the tell. I know when it's coming.
Right.
Neck pain and all that.
It's very debilitating.
It really is.
Yes.
It really is. You don't know what you're doing for a couple of days. It really sucks. As far as the investigation goes, the investigation was awesome.
Oh, yeah. It was great. I loved being back in that building.
It was great. What wasn't great may have been the people we had filming, which have nothing to do with other stuff we were doing.
Right.
We that may have not worked out quite the way we planned it.
No, it was a little different.
Little different.
Yes.
But that's okay, because out of bad comes good.
That's right.
And we've got some really good things going on in the Northeast, and some really good investigations with some really great things happening.
Yes.
And some new investigations, some new places, a lot of cool stuff going on. I will say, however, that we are just in the intro stages of evidence review.
Yes.
And as always, we like to share some cool things with you guys. We know we captured some amazing evidence because real-time audio review throughout the night was giving us some incredible interactions. I do want to share, I don't want to ruin next week's main attraction, and I will say, welcome back main attraction next week.
Right.
But we're going to go over evidence and play some of our better evidence. It's going to be best evidence part 2, and that's just a little bit of a hint for next week.
Right.
So you guys know what's coming up, and hopefully we'll do some exciting stuff on there, and we're going to invite a friend or two to come back on the show and maybe share a couple of pieces of good evidence they have.
That would be good.
So I think that'll be a really cool, fun thing for you. But I will say, throughout this investigation we did last week, we had some wonderful moments, and one of my favorite moments. We made a new friend who was watching this building for us that night, Curtis, and it went really, really well.
Yes. I think he enjoyed it.
I think he did too.
Yes.
But it was that lovely moment somewhere around 3 a.m.
Right.
when we're in the basement of this place asking for this to happen, and it does.
Right.
That moment, that paradigm shifting moment for people when it does, and it doesn't just do it the one time, it does it several times, and it's complete interaction between the two of us. The kind of interaction you get when you go to ParanormalSideshow.com. That's the address to find all the one-on-one interactions. Wow. Facebook.com/ParanormalSideshow. That's another place for multiple interactions. Not as exciting, though. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. On Instagram, Hot Stacey Dam, it's John and Stacey Edwards. On the YouTube, search Paranormal Sideshow. And as always, go to anywhere you like to listen to your podcast, which iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, which is bringing us tons of new listeners. We're looking at you, James Hopkins, who sent us a great letter that meant a lot to us this past week. We get tons of mail, and it means something to us, every single one of them. And a lot of new listeners. Each and every week, it seems that we're doubling the listenership.
Yes.
And that's so cool. That is just awesome. And it's all because of grassroots. It's all because of you guys. And it's all because of you putting your ratings or subscribing and, letting other people know about the show. Don't keep it to yourself.
No.
We'll take time to love every one of you up. Okay? There's a lot of us to go. Hey, there's two of us.
That's
so
right.
We can double your pleasure. And we'll make.
I'm not sure what you're promising here, but
well, you know
okay.
what? If it gets more people, right? If it gets
whatever
more people.
it takes. Is that what you're saying?
No, we're doing really well with this, and as far as increasing the listeners, and we will keep this ad free. We will keep this 100%. Nobody being able to tell us what we're going to do, what we're going to say, what we're going to talk about.
Exactly.
And hopefully, we'll make you laugh and we'll educate you at the same time. That's our goal. Hopefully. Not necessarily, right?
Not necessarily.
Maybe they can educate us a little bit. But, hey, we got a big show for you this week, and it's time for a little bit of paranormal news.
Okay, so let's get to the news. So this first story I'm going to lead off with is about an interview that was done with Robert Bigelow back at the end of May.
Cool.
Right, with 60 Minutes.
Oh, the big dogs.
Yes. Anybody that doesn't know who Robert Bigelow is, he owns the aerospace company. He's a
billionaire.
Yes, and he's like a
billionaire.
I think he's like a Las Vegas real estate tycoon, but he's got a company that is developing expandable spacecraft for NASA. They've been sending it up into space to test. I think it expands to make shelter for people.
Sounds like something the Weasleys would come up with.
This
is my expendable aircraft.
It's bigger on the inside.
My extendable ears.
Anyway, so they're like lightweight structures. They inflate. That's not the important thing. That's what the interview was about.
Well, Bigelow's the one that has that cool alien, like for Bigelow Aerospace.
Right, like the logo.
The logo's an alien.
It's like painted on the building.
Right.
Yes. And I believe he's had encounters. He's had family members that have had encounters.
Grandparents.
Yeah, so he's definitely a space guy.
Which is awesome, but I think he said, as you'll get into the interview, but he said he spent more than any human on trying to find the truth,
Right, yeah, millions. Well, anyway, so in this 60 Minutes article, they were talking, and later on, Laura Logan, she asked him if he believed in aliens.
Right.
And he said, I'm absolutely convinced.
Actually, on 60 Minutes.
On 60 Minutes. And they left it in. They left it in the interview. And he said, that's all there is to it. And so she said, do you also believe that UFOs have come to Earth? And he said that there is and has been an existing presence, an ET presence.
Right.
And that's and he talked about how much money he had spent on the subject. He said probably more than anybody in the United States, which is probably true. And so she asked him, the funny part is she asked him if he thought it was risky for him to admit that in public, that did he think that people was going to think he was crazy? And he said that he didn't care, that he didn't care.
I am a billionaire.
Yeah, if people thought he was crazy.
Give a damn what you think.
He basically said
Scum.
that even if people thought he was crazy, it doesn't change what he knows.
Do you think at the 1%er bars, he walks in,
they have their own bars?
They were like, yeah, look, it's Bigelow in his tinfoil hat.
Possibly.
His platinum foil hat.
So after all that, they still didn't let it drop. She still asked him that if he thought that they would encounter some kind of intelligent presence, and he just said, you don't have to go anywhere.
It's here.
To get that. And she said, so it's here?
Love
and
it.
He said, yeah.
Absolutely love it.
It's right under people's noses.
Okay, so it didn't come off to me as an all-in-all hit piece.
Right.
And a lot of times these things are hit pieces. Okay. They'll ask you something like, and it's almost like a Wicklander interview, like I'm trained for, like an interview and interrogation. You know, if I thought that you stole money from kids, I would be like, yeah, you know, those stupid little brats, they're not going to spend their whole lunch money on, you know.
You're going to try and trap them into saying something.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I mean, come on. I mean, they're not going to miss 10 cents, right? I get it. I get why you would do it. And people open up, and then you make the hit piece.
Right.
And you know, something I recently have studied in my spare time, the history of propaganda with television. And it's astounding because a lot of times if you just see one thing happen, which happens all the time. I know many times you and I look at each other and we're like, oh, I can't believe they got away with that. I can't believe they're going to try to get away with that.
Right.
And then it goes, like everybody, we're wired that way. It just disappears. We forget it, right?
Right.
When you go back and look at the whole history of television, pretty much I was watching these trials from the Watergate era. And so you're looking at the 1970s, you know, and they were asking them point blank, hey, does like, I don't know, the Senate Judiciary Committee or whatever.
Right.
And they're like, has there been a CIA presence on the news? You know, are you telling them what to? And they're like, I don't think we should talk about this right now. And I start thinking, because it's me, I start thinking, you know, if I came home from work and you were sitting there with a pair of women's panties that were not yours and one of my dress shirts that had lipstick all over it in your other hand, and you're like, John, have you been having relations with a woman? And I was like, well, Stacey, I think we should probably talk about this somewhere else. You know, the answer is yes, right? So
because if it was a no, you would just say no.
Yeah, I would say no vehemently.
Although in your case, I think I would ask you if you were wearing the women's clothing.
That's for another time. I don't think we should discuss that right here. So, I mean, it's one of those things that what I picked out of this is when you look at it all in context, especially a show like 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes is a meet the press. It's a flagship. It's a staple. Okay. People go on that show. Right. And it's a big friggin' deal.
Yeah. Yeah, okay? It is. It's like being in Time magazine or.
Right. It's a quote.
Right.
Anything you say on 60 Minutes can be taken as a quote. And people use it for years. Books will claim, you know, well, so-and-so said this on a 60 Minutes interview, May 29th, 2017. I mean, it's that important, okay? So the first thing I go to, and we'll talk about the importance of what he said and how cool it is what he said, but the thing I go to is more with the MSM side of things. Right. You know, the mainstream media allowing this conversation to happen, it not being a all-in-all hit piece.
Right, like it didn't seem like they were trying to make fun of him.
Right, they weren't. It didn't show Bigelow's face, and then it go back like it's a Last Week Tonight segment, and she's wearing a tinfoil hat. Right, you know, and then it goes back to his face again, and it comes back, and she, you know what I mean? And she's got an alien head on. It wasn't any,
which would be really funny. But anyway,
I love how you picture what I say.
I do.
But yeah, it wasn't anything like that. So you talk about a lot. I mean, you have talked about for years slow disclosure. You've talked about for years the fact of making things, and I think the word we look for on this is normalizing it. Right. And no matter who it is or what it is, if we talk about it in the mainstream, it becomes somewhat normalized. It becomes somewhat less taboo.
Well, I think about it like, it's weird to think about it like this, but a long time ago, women wore really long dresses because they showed their ankles. It was scandalous. Right. And over time, you know, dresses got shorter and shorter and shorter. And, you know, people, it's not scandalous anymore. Right. It's just normal. Right. And that's what I mean. Like they're just sort of.
What you're wearing right now, you would be considered naked if we were walking the streets in 1870.
Right. But now it's okay. And so that's kind of what I feel like.
My God, it's okay.
I am wearing clothes, people. You can just saying.
You can wear a little less.
So I feel like
into you.
Calm down. Don't make me squirt water at you. They do that with the disclosure. Like they just do it a little bit at a time until you get used to what they're saying. And then
I'm sorry, you're laughing because you thought about what I was thinking about right then. They do it just a little bit at a time until you get used to it.
Exactly.
And then boom.
Yep.
all at once, right?
All at once.
Yeah. So, come on. You laughed because you were thinking the same thing.
I know.
But I get what you're saying.
Yes.
And to bring this back into the world of not painful sexual encounters, the very fact that this was on, and the very fact of what he said, my God, a billionaire went on 60 Minutes and said, emphatically, undeniably, there is an alien presence, and it's here now. It's on this earth. It's been here. They've, and if you read between the lines, obviously they've interfered. And he laughed. The way he laughed, that knowing laugh. This is my favorite part of it. He made her the idiot. He made her the one that was the stupid one for not realizing it.
Yes.
For even asking the question. And I think that's a lesson for all of us. All of you listening to the show, somebody says, hey, what are you looking at? And you're looking at a UFO magazine. I think that's where we turn it on to them. And we're like,
I feel like that's a talent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not everybody can do that. You can do that. You can make
I do it all the time.
You can make people feel stupid for not knowing what you know.
Right.
I mean, it's just the way I don't think I can do that, but
you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like if we turn it on them, like what?
Yeah.
Are you
mean you don't believe in this?
You don't? I mean, come on. I mean, the proof is everywhere. And that's really how I feel about it. I mean, how much more proof do we need? I know. And they always ignore everything. And as long as it's ignored by mainstream media, people are like, oh, okay, it's not real. But that is awesome. It is fantastic.
Oh, I love this story. Yes.
It's just cool where it was more than what it was.
I did read this article about, I watched the interview, but then I read this article on CBS News, and they said that they confirmed with the FFA, that's the wrong thing. The FAA would be the right thing.
But the future farmers of America were also in agreement.
Yeah, they agreed.
What about it, Jed? I know what I saw. I know what I saw in that cornfield. And ever since, I have agreed with Mr. Bigelow.
That could be a thing. Anyway, the FAA confirmed that for years it referred reports of UFOs and other unexplained phenomena to a company that Bigelow owns. So I think that might be where he spent some of the money trying to prove this stuff.
I'll tell you where else he spent it. Poor old Bessie. She was such a good old cow. She was there 1 second, and the next second there was that big crop circle, and they used that profane imagery and had Bessie right in the middle of it.
You don't let me slip up anything, do you?
That's what I'm here for.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the next story.
And time.
So the next story is an update to a story we've done before.
Update.
So, do you remember the story about the Brazilian kid that went missing with the room full of weird alien stuff and the books?
Hopefully that's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I know you remember.
Of course I remember that.
His name was Bruno Borges, and it was like this worldwide thing because he went missing. It was all weird. Okay, so there's an update to that story where they're claiming that his disappearance is a hoax and a publicity stunt for his books.
We were claiming that then.
Yes, well, we thought, but they have some proof now, and the developments are that. Okay, so the authorities searched a friend of his house, and they found these contracts that they had notarized where his books were going to get published, and part of the proceeds were going to go to his friend. But they had them notarized the day after he supposedly disappeared.
Wait a second. This doesn't sound right to me now.
Why?
Like at first, I was all about this being a hoax, but now I'm really concerned that it's not. Now I'm concerned that it's a cover-up. It just doesn't sound right to me. You mean he had friends?
He did have friends. 2 of them, in fact.
I find that very, very suspect.
Well,
the guy had a giant flipping statue in his room,
right,
and spent the time to come up with a language. And write these really, really B-movie books.
Well, I mean,
I'm not playing right now.
He did still write the books. I mean, that's legitimate.
I'm totally playing, being a little funny, but also at the same time not. This was a total hoax to me until I start seeing them trying to cover it up.
Right.
That's a little bit strange, Stacey.
It is. Well, apparently there was another friend that was listed in the contract. They went to his house, and some of Borges's furniture from his bedroom was at that guy's house, as though they had moved it out to make his room look more barren with the statue and stuff.
Right.
So one friend had a contract that they got notarized the day after he disappeared. And then another friend had some of his furniture. So
none of these friends were girls, were they?
No. So they've made it look all staged.
Right.
Like they staged his disappearance. Now they still don't know where he is. They still haven't found him. And
you
nobody's
don't think they murdered
saying,
him, do you?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't think so. But they're thinking that it's just a publicity hoax for getting his books published, getting people.
We need to get Father Brown on the case.
He would know. He would know.
I'm sure that kid's Catholic.
And
it's Brazil. They're all Catholic.
The authorities seem to think that his family knew about this, even though they are expressing doubt that it's a hoax. They don't think that. They think he's really just missing.
Wow.
They don't think that any of this points to anything about his books.
I'm telling you. It's okay. It really has become interesting to me now. At first, it was so over the top, not interesting.
Right.
Even though it should be something that's interesting to me, it was just like he tried too hard.
Right.
It was like I came home and
I think the painting was too much.
Yeah, it's like I came home and he was wearing a nightie already and had some like lube in his hand, and it's just too much.
Right.
It's like, come on, make me try a bit, and it was just too much. But now that you've thrown this wrinkle in there, and this wrinkle that should make him look guilty, but we still have yet to find him.
Yeah, but he's still missing.
Right.
So nobody will say where he is. You would think his friends would know where he was.
At this point, when they get caught, and they're sitting there, they're getting grilled. More than likely, you got the guy's furniture in your house.
Yeah.
He's missing. They're going to grill you.
Well, yeah, you would think you'd give it up just so you didn't look like you did something terrible.
Exactly. At this point, at this point, they're like, come on, Borges.
Right. Yeah, come out of hiding.
Come on.
They figured it out.
The gig's up.
Give it up.
We had our fun.
Well, I think his mother let it slip that his first book is actually in the process of being published.
Right.
So I don't know.
I'll read it.
Well, I mean,
what's that going to cost me on Kindle?
It seems to me he went through a lot of effort so people would read his books. He still wrote 14 coded books. That's still impressive.
I think I might use you as a pen name.
Right.
And just hide you for a while for our book.
I don't think that would work.
Of course, we both wrote our book, so
that's right. I think one of us wrote a little more than the other, and I mean you. I don't mean me.
It's all right. It's not complete without both.
Okay. Well, let's go on to the next story. That was just a little update, so maybe they'll update again and actually find him somewhere.
End of update.
Do you really need a drum roll for that?
I think, yeah.
Okay, cool. So this next story I pulled up was just about the total solar.
Jesus Christ, is that happening again? The total.
I hate it when it happens.
The last time it happened, things went nuts.
Okay, so there's
Cats
also
and dogs, up is down, black is white.
There's also a total solar eclipse that's going to happen in August.
Yeah, that's kind of cool too.
Yes, and I wanted to go ahead and mention it because even though it's not happening for a couple of months, in case people wanted to travel to where they could see it.
Well, you see, that would be really cool. That would be so awesome. Except the place that we would have to travel to see it is the place that we don't want to return.
I know.
So if you were in our old home, you would see a great total solar eclipse.
Exactly.
But let's not do that.
Well,
I would rather see a corner eclipse.
This will be the first time a total solar eclipse was across the
you
United
really have trouble
States.
with that, don't
I know.
you?
It's like a tongue twister.
It's really not.
Across the entire United States since 1918.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to start in Oregon. And it's like this thin path that goes all the way down through like Idaho, Wyoming,
like the Oregon Trail,
Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, all the way over to South Carolina. Yeah. And you can see a map. There's like, so for everybody else in the country, it's not a total eclipse.
Maybe it's God's way of cleansing all those areas.
It does go through Kentucky.
Yeah, of course it does.
Kentucky's going to see
it. If it didn't go through Kentucky, Kentucky would be on the news next week going, and Kentucky. It was spotted by everyone and Kentucky.
And Kentucky.
Don't forget Kentucky.
So if you can't get into the path of the total eclipse, you can watch it streaming online.
Right.
It's probably not the same.
It's really not.
It's not. But
I watch a lot of stuff streaming online, and it's just not the same.
If you miss this one entirely, then there'll be another one.
Then blink and pretend.
Well, there'll be another one in 2019, but there won't be another one to cross the United States until 2024. So if you happen to be in the path of the eclipse, go outside, watch it. It'd be great.
I'll tell you what's really...
use the special, looking goggles or whatever.
Let me tell you what's really paranormal in these United States. Come to Maine, folks, where at 4 a.m. the damn sun's up.
And at 4 p.m. it's setting.
I mean, what in the actual hell? The other night, I was still up.
Right.
I was going to be off the next day. And I was still up, and it was 4 a.m. Okay? I was having trouble sleeping. I was having trouble. It's full moon time. I was having my problems, as every full moon.
Right.
And I tried setting everything up, and I'm like, okay, all right. It's 4 a.m. I'm playing my Harry Potter book. I've got the light out. The air conditioner's on 67.
You're going to actually admit that you listen to Harry Potter audiobooks to go to sleep?
Doesn't everybody? I mean, why wouldn't you?
I do. I am in the room with you.
Okay. But, I had book 6 playing.
Right.
And which is it's awesome. Yeah. So I had book 6 playing, and I'm going to sleep. And it kind of takes away all my work. You guys don't know what kind of work I do, but the work I do consumes my soul. And so when I have these little moments of divinity, what brings me to divinity in these moments is a really cold room, a warm blanket, a beautiful girl, and a Harry Potter book or some Tolkien or something, and I'll listen.
Something read by a British guy.
Something read by a British guy. My entire audio book collection. I don't care what it is, as long as it's read by some British bloke. It doesn't matter, okay? And I'm gonna, when I get rich enough, I'm just gonna hire some Jeeves, and he's going to sit in the corner of the room at night and just read to me, right? So it's the only thing I have, right? Because my work is terrifying. The work I do is tumultuous. It's unbelievably hard, and it takes up most of my life, other than our paranormal pursuits.
Right.
So trying to fit that all in together is really hard.
It's stressful.
It's very stressful.
Yes, I agree.
So I was laying there, and it was like 4 a.m., and I finally got comfortable, right? I didn't even have to go pee again. Everything was good.
Right.
Everything was good. And the damn sun came up. And I'm just like, and I wake Stacy up. Poor Stacy. I wake Stacy up, who is already sleeping well. Right. And I was just like, honey, the sun's up. And she's just like, oh, that's not. No, don't you get? It's 4 a.m. Yes, honey, it's fine. Stacy, the sun is up and it's 4 a.m. It was terrible though. And I just had to throw that in there.
Do you know what I hate?
What?
Because we have those curtains in our room that block out the sun because we hate when the sun comes up at 4 a.m.
Yes,
I hate it when that one curtain gets pulled to the side just a little so that one little beam of light comes in. Because for some reason, no matter where I am in the room, it's hitting me right in the face.
Yeah, I know, man.
It's terrible.
You have like Indiana Jones dreams that you're in a ball and you're trying to... It is terrible. But yeah, just thought I'd throw that in there for your total solar eclipse.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I heard it. I'm just ignoring it.
Okay,
let's move on.
Let's.
All right, so this next story is from Rome, and it is about the brain of a saint that was stolen from a church.
Was he dead already?
Yes.
Okay.
It was actually just slivers of his brain.
Ew.
Yeah, it sounds kind of gross.
Do they keep the brains of saints?
Well, they keep any kind of relics from saints. They're like holy, and they keep them in the church and like on display.
And
people
they're
pray.
gross.
Yeah, well, it's like we did a story a few years ago. I remember, and it was like a vial of blood from the Pope that got stolen.
No, that always happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, where they check it there's all kinds of stuff. Yes. I would like to be sainted.
Would you?
Yeah, like after I'm dead, obviously, and I would like him to keep my
obviously.
I would like him to keep my manhood.
Really?
Yeah.
Your privates?
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? Like that's the only thing that was left, but they kind of need to keep it because it's holy.
I want to know how you died. The only thing left is your man bits.
Well, I mean, there could be a tragic glory hole incident. Well, there was a gas leak in the other room, and this is all we really had left.
Okay, we should probably not go down that train of thought anymore. Okay, so anyway, a thief entered the church
Through a glory hole.
and he left with a glass case containing the relic of the saint. The saint's name was Don Bosco. And it was
sounds like a mafia saint.
I know, and actually it was like slivers of his brain.
Right.
And the Catholics they're mortified. They were praying for the return of this holy relic.
So maybe it was a Catholic zombie.
No, I doubt it. I don't think there was enough brain there. I mean, it's probably old.
Light snack.
Ew. He died in 1888. It was probably pretty dry.
Yeah, but it's really kind of crazy though. I mean, once again, all kidding aside, what kind of person breaks in and steals the brain of a saint?
Right. Well, there's a lot of theories. Obviously, it could probably be sold on the black market for a lot of money.
Or it's a cult.
They could ransom it, or even the media has speculated that it's a satanic cult kind of thing because they like to desecrate holy relics. That's like, I guess, something they do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it has to be a cult. I mean, I can't imagine the black market. You know, I don't know how big of a demand. You know?
I don't know, because you get those really rich collector people, eccentric, and they like to have one of a kind items in their collections, but you couldn't show it to anybody. So what would be the point?
I mean, there's something different in petrified T-Rex balls and the slivers of a bleeding saint. You know, I mean,
right?
It's a little bit out there. You would think. I mean, in my head, I hope it's a demonically oppressed Satan worshiper.
I feel like the Catholic churches need to have more security or stop displaying the holy relics if they don't want people to steal them.
I don't know. I mean, come on. Who's really in the right? Oh, excuse me, Father Johnson. Do you think that we should add security for this toenail of Saint Gibbous? I don't really think so. Who's going to
steal a toenail?
I mean, come on, right? It's slivers of a brain.
I mean, I know. I don't know.
I don't know. It's a cult.
It has to. I feel like it's a cult thing. I don't, because they haven't asked for a ransom or anything like that, so I don't see why.
It's the devil.
It's the actual devil.
Come on, it's the Rome.
True.
If I ever go to Rome, there's a couple things I want to see: the Vatican Library, and the devil.
I believe they're all in the same area, aren't they?
Yeah, wearing a big hat, blessing a bunch of folks.
All right, let's move on.
Messing up the Lord's Prayer. Look that one up.
So here's an interesting story. There was a video for this, and I just thought it was kind of strange. So this was in Ireland. And over the weekend, thousands of people flocked to this religious shrine because they were hoping to see an apparition of the Virgin Mary. And the reason they did this is because there was a boy who claimed that when he was in Fatima last month, that he saw a vision and was told that the Virgin Mary would appear at this shrine on June 10th at 3 p.m.
Did she?
Well, I'll get to that part. And so a bunch of people saw this, and he was like, if you want to see her, join me this shrine, June 10th, 3 p.m. So like 2,000 people showed up, and they were all looking.
Wait a second. So let me stop you.
Right.
So he was in Fatima.
Right. About a month ago.
And when he was in Fatima, she said June 10th, 3 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. 3 p.m. Fatima time or 3 p.m. Ireland time? That's a big problem.
That is a problem.
Because that's the kind of thing.
Does not specify.
The George Costanza in me would completely ignore the fact I was talking to the bloody, I was talking to the Virgin Mary, and I would be like, yes, Mother, but can you please tell me, is that 3 p.m. your time, 3 p.m. my time? Are we factoring in the thousands of years of changes?
Are they different time zones?
No, they're actually not. I was looking it up while we were talking. And Portugal, Ireland, same time zone. Okay, so that's weird. That solves that.
Okay, so that solves that problem. So anyway, at 3 p.m. on June 10th, so all these people, 2,000 people showed up. And 3 p.m. came and went, and there was media there.
Wouldn't it be cool if 2,017 people showed up?
That would be weird.
That would be weird.
Yeah. It said a gathering of more than 2,000 people, so it very well could have been.
I needed some accounting.
17.
All right.
So the media reported that nothing happened. There was no apparition, no sighting, anything like that. So later on, one of the people that was in the crowd was actually taking a cell phone video. And in the sky, you can actually see the sun. It looks like the blinding sun is shining. And about that time, I mean, it doesn't look like anything, but you can hear people in the crowd around this person filming, like gasping and praying and declaring that they can see something. But you can't see anything in the video. It just looks like the sun coming through the clouds. So it's puzzling. Is it a thing where people just wanted to see something, so they did?
Oh my God,
Did
Stacey.
only some people see it?
Stacey.
Yes.
Do you remember last week's program? Our last program?
Vaguely.
We talked about the UFOs.
Right.
And it happening and you not remembering it.
Right.
Until triggered.
Right.
What if, huh? What if the Fatima incident was a UFO incident?
Right.
And this was another UFO incident.
Well, maybe the only thing is the guy was filming the whole time.
Well, I'm just saying. He wasn't filming in night vision.
Well, maybe it didn't show up on camera.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those things because there was.
I don't know. It's the whole.
It was weird.
The whole Our Lady Fatima thing is one of the weirdest stories ever.
I agree, and this whole
creepy.
thing is weird also because if you watch it, there does not appear to be anything but some sunshine.
Yeah.
But maybe all those people they just wanted to see something so badly.
Yeah. In Maine,
And they
that
did
would be
it.
like divinity. It was sun.
Oh my gosh,
Oh
it's
my
shining.
God. Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting.
It is
I thought it was
interesting.
interesting that so many people showed up
It is.
to try and experience that.
I'm surprised that's all that showed up. Honestly.
Well, true. So, okay, so let's move on. So here's an interesting story. You're going to find this funny, probably. So in Philadelphia, there was, you're laughing already. All I said was in Philadelphia.
It's Philadelphia.
There's a story that was done by CBS Philly, and it's about a billboard that was on the Schuylkill Expressway. I think that's how you say that. And it's a digital billboard. It's one of the ones that goes through the ads. And right in between two insurance ads, there is an ad that just says, research flat earth.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And it was bought by a gentleman named Math Powerland.
His first name is Math.
Yes, and I actually looked at it twice because I thought that it was a typo. I thought I typed it wrong.
Is
and
his
then
full
I was
name
like,
mathematical?
I don't know.
I
I
would
hope so.
hope,
Because his
yeah.
last name's Powerland, like Powerland.
That's crazy.
Math Powerland. It's funny.
He sounds like an amusement park for
So,
nerds.
I know. Well, he purchased the billboard.
Yeah.
And he is actually from New Mexico, but he picked Philadelphia to do the billboard because he thought that it would get more views and because it was the least expensive.
Right, because it's Philly.
So what he did was he did a GoFundMe campaign.
Right.
And he asked for $900. His goal was $900 to do the billboard for a week on the expressway. And he actually has plans to do more in other big cities. But he actually got the money for this one and bought it. And there it was. And they did an interview with him. And he was like, this is something we need to talk about. And he's part of some kind of flat plane society, flat earth society. I can't remember the name of the society, but he's one of those. He started one of those.
Flat earthers.
And what I thought was really funny about this is I went and looked at his GoFundMe page, and his goal was $900. He got exactly 5 donations. One donation was $900.
Oh, wow.
And then the other 4 totaled up to like $35.
Was the one donation from an unnamed NBA player?
I don't know. It didn't say. It just had like the username. So, but you wonder.
It's like KI.
You wonder who was just going to throw
Right.
$900 at somebody
Right.
to do a billboard about flat Earth.
Tell you what, I need to start doing some GoFundMes.
I'm telling you.
I mean, just for some of the crazy stuff we're into. Let's
So-
do a GoFundMe for crop circles. I need a GoFundMe for missing people in national parks. I mean, come on, It's cool that we have that ability to do that. And like I said before, you know what? If you believe in flat Earth, bless you. It's fine.
Well, I mean, at least he's doing something about his belief.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
I may not believe in flat Earth, but I'm not going to laugh at him for that. He's taking what he believes and he is trying to spread the word about it.
Yeah, I mean, well, we won't go down that rabbit hole again.
No, we did a whole episode on that. We're not gonna.
It's fine. Yes, it's very cool. Very cool.
But
Cool story.
Now
I would have wrecked.
CBS Philly, when they were doing the story, they actually did interview people about the billboard, and most of those people were just people laughing about it.
Right.
They didn't take it seriously.
Unfortunately, not everybody's like us.
But they did talk to Math Powerland as well.
That's where I would laugh.
Yeah. Is your name really Math? That's what I would ask
Yeah.
him. Who named you Math? I don't know.
You would totally make me take you there. To Math Powerland.
Yes, I love
You'd be
Math.
so excited.
Oh my gosh, it'd be
Can you
great.
imagine the rides? Like the cryptogram ride and like, wouldn't that be awesome
Yes.
for you?
For me, everybody else would be bored out of their minds.
The roller coasters would have to be some weird equation. Like it would have to be something,
See, I feel like it'd be pointless because they'd probably make you do some kind of math to get in.
I
And
think
then you guys would all be left outside.
I think that should be part of it. I think you should actually have to do some kind of math thing to be able to get in. And then you get tokens throughout the land if you're able to do it and
To solve problems.
Yeah.
Oh, it just sounds too awesome for words.
You're already loving it.
I know. I'm enjoying the idea of that. All right, let's move on to this next story. Okay, so this one's pretty funny. This is about a story from Dubai. Dubai, yes. And
Land of the money.
the Dubai police force has added a robotic policeman to their police force.
I stand by my previous statement. Land of the money. They have so much money. They just don't know what to do with
I
it.
know. So the headline calls it RoboCop, but it's not like, RoboCop. It's just a robotic policeman, and it patrols the city, and it actually carries facial recognition software on it.
Mm-hmm.
So as it's patrolling, if it can do it does the facial recognition on everybody.
It's
and
terrifying.
if it pings somebody that is in the database, it alerts the police.
I mean, that's terrifying.
Yeah, I know. And it's
All I can ever see is those stupid army dogs, those robotic dogs that they had running, that you see that video where they're just like showing how fast they can run.
How fast they can run and stuff. Yeah.
It's just terrifying.
Well,
I'm glad I'm not a criminal.
This is they have this one, and it's kind of a pilot program. They're trying to see how successful it is because the robots can actually collect evidence. They've got screens on them where people can interact with it, and they can, do things. I don't know, contact the police and do whatever. But they feel like that if this is successful, they're going to add more of them. They're unarmed. I will point out they are unarmed robots.
Thank God.
But one of the things that the guy talking about it said was that he was excited about it because the robots can work 24/7. They don't need sick time. They don't need time off. They want to replace their human cops with as many of these robot type cops
They're like illegals.
as they can. Well, what I thought about was that they were going to have these cameras, these surveillance cameras roaming around the city all the time. And that's one of the things, they can watch the cameras. That's one of the things that they said was good about it because they can patrol areas without being there. And that have facial recognition software.
Yeah, well,
and that can watch you.
It's everywhere. I mean, it's just
know,
they're
it's
being
crazy.
honest about it. I think what the bigger story is, we need to open up. Right now is the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to open up the Dunkin' for robots.
What?
The Dunkin' for robots.
Robot donuts.
Yeah, I mean, they can come by, get them a hot glass of oil, and some bolts, sugar covered bolts.
They'll start putting weight on.
Yeah,
You'll have to be like, you can't have any more.
They'll be on
donuts.
the take before you know it. It's robot brutality
I guess
reports.
it depends how much AI they put in them.
Yeah.
So there you go, robot policeman.
There it
already
is.
starting.
It was bound to happen.
Okay, well, let's move on. So this is a story about some teenagers that got lost in the Paris catacombs.
Oh wow, I saw that movie.
I don't think this is a movie.
Oh, okay.
This actually happened. So the Paris catacombs are, it's all those tunnels underneath Paris. There's about 150 miles of them, underground tunnels. It's like a maze. There's bones, bones of like 6,000 people.
Haunted as
crazy stuff. It's been down there, forever. So it's open to the public. Only about a little over a mile of the tunnels are actually open to the public that can go down there and visit during the day. But there are places that people can sneak in, like hidden openings, and people illegally sneak into the tunnels to explore them or to have parties or whatever. So these two teenagers, age 16 and 17, somehow got into these tunnels and got lost and were down there for 3 days.
Yeah, man, I've heard about people before getting,
Right.
There's rumors that people go down there and never come back.
Well, they claim that nobody's ever gotten lost down there before.
Yeah.
That's what they claim.
They claim a lot of stuff.
But it took the policeman, once
the city of dead, man.
Nobody even knows how they were reported missing. Like eventually somebody missed them. I mean, it was 3 days.
Right.
And the police went down there with dogs, and it took them like 4 hours, and they finally found them and got them out. And they were okay. They were just kind of suffering from hypothermia because it's cold down there. It's like 60 degrees. So.
Did they say about anything that happened?
Well, they didn't interview the boys. And I hated that because I looked everywhere to see if somebody talked to them about what happened or how they got lost or anything that happened, why they were down there for 3 days.
Partying.
I mean, it was just them too, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if anything like paranormal happened to them.
I'm sure it did.
I mean I couldn't imagine it. That place seems kind of scary.
It's a very paranormal place. I can only imagine something happened. I mean, it's I mean, come on.
I know.
I mean, with the very fact, even if there wasn't all the dead bodies and
bones, all the bones and things like that,
you're still in a dark area. You know, underground. I mean, I'm sure, man, that it's something happened.
Well,
it's crazy.
I'm hoping.
I hope they talk to them.
Yeah, I'm hoping eventually somebody talks to them and finds out what happened exactly, because nobody even knows how they went missing. So, kind of on the same line, there was this article in the Boston Globe recently about these hikers that were looking for UFOs. And they got lost in the Blue Hills.
Right.
And they got stuck on this mountain and had to call and be rescued.
Yeah.
But they did say they saw UFOs.
They did see UFOs.
Yes, they saw UFOs while they were on their hike.
There you go. It's all worth it.
Or whatever.
I actually saw this one because we're in that area.
Yeah. So, well, this was a local one. That's why I grabbed it. And I had the other story. So I was like, well, I'm going to grab this story too. And the Massachusetts State Police actually had to go and get them. And it was weird because they said that they weren't even really prepared for a hike. I don't even know why they went.
Oh, come on. That's hiking. Like when we went to the Brown Mountain Lights. I mean, you're not prepared for it, but you see something, you just start going.
Well, one guy was wearing slippers. They didn't have flashlights.
So possibly the UFO interference there.
I mean, I don't know. They're
lucky they were found.
It seems weird that they went on this hike being so ill prepared. Their phones weren't charged. They didn't have flashlights. They didn't take food and water. You know, they weren't wearing proper footwear. It does seem very weird.
It does seem like there's more to it.
Yes. So, because they said it was a spur of the moment idea.
That's very strange.
It is very strange.
I mean, I've had them, but you know, that's very strange. I still would put shoes on.
Yeah, I know. I would too. Well, one of the hikers said that they saw several UFOs during their journey, including 3 bright lights in a triangle and a giant orb another time. So I don't know if they got pictures or whatever.
So they saw one UFO and
then a
elemental.
Yeah, something like that. So I don't know. Weird. It was weird. The whole thing about it's weird.
Sounds weird.
I think. Yeah. Okay, so I've got 2 more quick stories here. And this first one is about the weird ape-like creature that was seen in California. Yes. So this was a video that was shot on a cell phone by a guy named Jake Gardner. And he was out for a walk during his lunch break. And there were some hiking trails through the woods kind of near where he worked.
Right.
So he was over in there and he was taking a video, and he didn't see it right away. He started taking a video because he said he had this feeling that he was being watched.
Yeah.
And he felt really weird. So
Creepy.
he started kind of taking a video and stuff. So when he watched the video later, I mean, it wasn't a very long video, but when he watched it later, you could see this black thing kind of swinging through the trees. But you couldn't really tell what it was. It did look kind of ape-like.
Or bath salts.
Really did.
Yeah.
And they interviewed him. He seemed very straightforward. I mean, he didn't seem like he was a big druggie or anything.
I could just picture it. No, I'm talking about the thing swinging through the trees.
Oh.
You're talking L.A.
Maybe. Yeah, this is true.
Like, hey, y'all.
This is true. So they took the video and showed it to a spokesman for the state's Department of Fish and Wildlife. And he said, well, it could be some kind of ape. It could also be a bear, or it could be a large bird.
I really hope it's not a bear that's swinging through the trees.
And he couldn't tell if it was an ape or a bird. So I don't know how helpful he was. It was a very short video.
One of those weird California condors.
So I think the theory right now is maybe somebody had an exotic pet that escaped. Because, it's not really, it's like, it was this little area between the freeway and like a store or something. It's very strange
place for a weird animal.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And I watched it. And it does look like a chimp
too.
Or something,
yeah.
kind of swinging through the trees.
It looks
very
like
weird.
a chimp.
It was weird that he said that he felt like somebody was watching him, because I think a chimp or an ape would give you that feeling because they're very close to humans.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw some at the zoo recently, and it was
Absolutely.
It was eerie.
It was a weird moment for us at the zoo. And we came up on nap time for the chimps. Mm-hmm. And they were all chilled out, man. And we were, the enclosure that we were at, we were able to look right down on this one cat.
Yeah, he was laying right there against the glass.
And it reminded me of me. I mean, he was just laying there, and I felt bad for him because Stacy kept having to remind me that it's good for him, that they're being well taken care of. But man, it bothered me too. Mm-hmm. I love animals, and the people there, and I got to be careful here on this. The people at the zoo love animals. Mm-hmm. They absolutely devote their lives to this, and they're very good people. And it's a good thing for children to learn about these animals. But I'm telling you, there was this empathic thing that happened to me, only with the primates. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have it happen anywhere else in the zoo. But with the primates, I felt this weird like sadness, and it was like they're locked up, and it really bothered me. Like it really bothered me. And it also what was amazing is you go to the zoo as a child, you don't think of it like this, but when you're when you're an adult and you see these things, and especially people like us that research UFOs, research Bigfoot and stuff, you're looking at this and you're like, man, that's so close to us. It is.
It's weird.
It's weird how similar we are, and speaking of Bigfoot, I was researching Bigfoot sightings in the state of Maine. I thought, what a fun trip for me and you. I was going to go up and do a Bigfoot trip. Right. Here in the state, because there's a lot of woodlands here.
Oh yes, all kinds of places.
I mean, there's huge forests. There's
places people don't even go.
Yeah, the majority of the state is unsettled for the most part. So I was going to go out to a place and go out in the woods and actually go squatching, if you will. just for us, just for some YouTube,
just for fun,
just for some YouTube videos or whatever, and. When I was looking at it, the best thing I like to do is look at other people's research. So I was watching some, YouTube videos of some researchers and interviews and stuff.
Right.
And it was really weird because when I started the research and I was thinking of something, I don't know if this ever happens to you or not, but I was thinking of something. And then when I watch this research, they start this eyewitness to a Bigfoot starts talking about exactly what I was thinking about.
I hate it when that happens.
And it freaked me out because it's not something that is really prevalent on the Bigfoot research that you hear about all the time.
Right.
And I was thinking about how conscientious these people have to be, these Bigfoot have to be to stay hidden.
Right.
But how easy it would be also them being intelligent.
Right.
To stay hidden. If I was thinking, if I was able to take care of myself in the woods and live off deer and I knew how to do it, I knew how to survive.
Right.
You wouldn't find me in the woods and we've talked about this on older shows of ours. After going through deep forest, we understand, how a Bigfoot can stay hidden. The interesting thing about this Mainer's story was, he was driving to work, and this guy was telling the truth. This guy was telling the truth. This guy was 100% cool, and he was telling the story. And he's like, "Look, I was going to work. It was like I don't know, 11 p.m. or something, and it was I think the moon was out, and there was a bunch of deer. It was that time of year that there's just tons of deer around.
Right.
And so up here, there's a lot of very rural areas.
Yeah.
And so he was driving, and there was this field, and so he had to turn his truck like to the left. And when he did, for a short period of time, your face and your lights are going in this field.
Right.
And then you turn the corner to go back,
right.
The lights would be back on the road.
I got you.
Because you're right at this really hairpin curve. So when his lights were on this corner, hitting the field, he had been noticing all the deer. So he was looking, he's a deer hunter. He was looking at all the deer around and stuff.
Right.
And trying to make sure that he didn't have one jump out in front of his truck.
Yes, because that happens a lot.
Yeah. So his lights hit this, I believe he said orange eyes in the field, staring right back at him. Had to be 10 foot tall.
Oh my God.
9 or 10 foot tall. He could see what it was. And it was a Bigfoot. And he said that, it started lowering itself, like while it was looking, and
right.
going into a prone position.
Right.
And before he turned, it had went completely prone. It had went completely face down onto the field,
trying to blend
to hide,
right,
and to hide from it intelligently. And that's exactly what I was thinking about. I was thinking, if something was coming, I'd go prone. It was so weird that thought hit me, and the intelligence of that happened.
Right.
It's just really crazy. There's just a story I wanted to share, just because you don't hear about that a whole lot.
Right.
But I just thought that particular story was really cool, and for me, it gave credence to the whole story, because it's like not something, if you're making it up, you would say, yeah, at that point I saw it and it took off running, or at that point it hid behind a rock.
Well, yeah, because most Bigfoot hunters, when they talk about them like animals, like you're going to find their droppings, or you're going to find their structures, or they're going to leave evidence behind because they don't know better.
Yeah, and I don't look at it like that at all.
Right.
Personally, I look at it as a very highly evolved, highly intelligent species.
Right.
If it wasn't, it would be wandering into the Walmart parking lot.
Yeah.
If we're considering, and we're for argument's sake, we're saying Bigfoot's real.
Right.
And so if we're assuming Bigfoot's real, that's done. Now, is Bigfoot intelligent or not intelligent? Okay. It has to be intelligent.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It has to be.
It would have to be, because
otherwise we'd see him.
Exactly. And it's smart enough to know to live in such a rural area.
Yeah.
Like where no people are.
Right.
Because, there's forests in Maine where the roads don't even go in there.
Right. Dirt roads. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to this last story.
Let's do it.
And this is just a kind of a funny little story that I saw. And it's about a couple in Scotland that are looking for a nanny. And they are offering a little bit more than they would normally offer because their house is haunted. And they just put that out right at the beginning. Apparently, they have gone through 5 nannies in the last few months. It's a live-in nanny position.
Wow.
And they just, right off the top, they put an advertisement on childcare.com, the one in the UK.
Right.
And right off the top, they were just like, look, we've lost some nannies. There's been strange noises. We live in a very old home. It's considered haunted. So, you're going to have to be able to deal with this along with our children. And I think that what happens is they work away from the home about 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
So it's just the nanny and the kids
at
the house. And apparently they talked to some of the past nannies, and they have said things like they heard, I saw furniture moving, heard strange noises, voices, things like that. And so they all just were like, no.
Oh, man, I got to investigate that place.
And, well, they feel bad because they have 2 kids. They're 5 and 7. And it's like a big upheaval for them. They get used to a nanny, and then the nanny leaves. They want somebody that's going to come in knowing.
Oh, yeah. It's like a mother. I mean.
Yeah. And they're going to be okay with it and know how to deal with it and that sort of thing.
So when are we going to Scotland?
I'm telling you. Well, they said that.
You'd be fine with it.
I would be perfectly fine with it. And it says that they pay £50,000 a year. Plus you get 28 days vacation. So it's 4 weeks vacation plus bank holidays.
Wow.
And it's a live-in position.
Well, I mean, if I could find my work over there,
right,
that would be.
Except, I'd have to. I'm gonna go live over here and be a nanny.
We'll be live cam.
So the people that own the house say that they haven't personally experienced anything supernatural in the home.
That's honestly, wow.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't want them to leave then.
Right. So they just wanted to be they just said that they wanted to be as upfront as possible to find the right person. And the company said that it is a genuine position, that once they saw the ad, they were kind of surprised, but they checked, they talked to the people, they talked to the past nannies, and it is genuine. It is a genuine
that is amazing
position. And I hope they find somebody
that's awesome
that can really deal with that.
Like, I would love to talk to those people. That's really interesting. It gives a whole new meaning to nanny cam.
Yeah, really.
I mean, this is our night vision nanny cams, wow.
Well, they said that.
What a cool story.
Yeah, they said they've lived there nearly 10 years. And when they bought it, they were told it was haunted, but they wanted it anyway.
How old is the house? Does it have to say that?
Let me see. I don't know if it said how old the actual house was, but I'd say it's really probably pretty old.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, with Scotland, you can have anything on the grounds or... that's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
so anybody that lives in Scotland, if you're a nanny and
there you go.
Have nerves of steel, there's a position for you. It pays really well.
They could put Fran Drescher over there, the nanny, and the ghost would leave. All right.
All right. Well, that was all my news.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there's another episode in the can, yo.
Did you just say yo?
I said yo.
Don't say yo.
All right. I won't do that anymore.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Some great news. I appreciate that. I especially like the nanny story.
Yes.
That's really creepy and cool at the same time.
It is.
So from Bigelow to haunted nannies, that was some good information thrown at us there. Some information bricks, and in Mathland.
I can't wait to go to Mathland.
Math-
Somebody has to make Mathland.
They do. And if they do, we'll probably advertise it. ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go find everything about Mathland. Facebook.com/ParanormalSideshow. AlgebraLand. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. CalculusLand. Instagram, Hot Statistics Dam, John and Stacey Edwards. And on the YouTube, well, anybody on YouTube probably isn't that into math. Search Paranormal Sideshow. It's Remedial Land.
Is that like Kitty Land?
Yeah, and it's Consumer Land. So wasn't that the math, the consumer math?
Consumer math.
That's what they put me in. They were always like, and they always try to make me feel better about it. It's like, well, we think this is for what you'll probably do in life, like sales and simple things. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. That's some of your places you can go if you listen to podcasts.
Basically anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Basically anywhere you listen to a podcast. And then if you do listen to it and you remotely find us attractive, or you like what we say, or you don't like what we say, leave a review. Give us some love. Give us some star ratings, some thumbs up.
Yes.
Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your teachers, tell your wife. And don't tell your wife. Regardless, once again, we love all of you. Thank you for listening so much. We'll have a fun one next week for you. Once again, we're going to have Best Evidence Part 2.
Can I point something out?
Yeah.
We have not had a single malfunction today.
That is interesting.
And we didn't change anything.
No, we didn't.
I didn't change anything on the computer. We didn't change any of the equipment. It's all just set up.
I was going to say it before the show started, and
Right.
and I'll say it now for our listeners. Just because we always let them into our lives. And
Right.
so the last time we had tons, we had to restart over and over and over. It was a trial to get through that episode.
Yeah, it was hard.
It was really hard. And I feel it was a warning. I feel it was a warning for us because we were talking about going on that investigation and going on that trip.
Oh, yeah. And we did have some trouble.
I was going to say it before the episode that everything would go fine because we're living in positive land right now. And I really feel like it was somewhat of it was almost something from that area, that dark area we were going.
Right.
Letting us know, everything's going to be screwed up for a few days.
Well, that happens. Sometimes when we were doing investigations every week, like we
Right.
were investigating, sometimes when we were going to go to an especially bad place, for a few days going up to that investigation, things would happen.
Yeah.
And almost like a warning, because they know you're coming.
They know you're coming.
You're not surprising anybody.
Right.
Even if you think you are. They know you're coming. And it was kind of like a warning not to
I believe that's
come
what was
there.
happening. And when you look back at the stuff that happened, it all makes sense. So for my lovely wife, Stacy, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.